Hello and welcome to part 3 of the Word Crash Course, and this is going to be section and page breaks as well as page numbers. In the document we've been working with here, what I want to start doing now is adding some of the sections that are required for the format guidelines. So in our guidelines, you might be aware that there's going to be the title page, the approval page, the prefatory material, and then the main document, which is where this would be the start of your main document. And you might also be aware that the page numbering in the title page and approval page there's going to be no page numbering there. In the prefatory material, we use lowercase Roman numeral page numbers. And in the main document, we use Arabic numeral page numbers. And so you might be wondering how we make that happen. How do all these different sections come about? So the first thing I'd like to show you is I'm going to select these. Another thing I'll show you quickly is if you've got these are all formatted as heading styles. So I'm going to close that out. And I'm just giving myself some space to work with right here. And with this clear formatting button, it just puts it back into normal. Normal can never hurt you. And that's something for down the road. If you use other styles, you have to be a little more careful once we start building our table of contents, for instance. But if you put it in normal, it's just going to just be there. So the first thing I want to do is go into my layout here and add a section break. Now, the only section break that we should ever need in a thesis or dissertation is a next page break. Everything else will cause issues. And so I'm just going to counsel you guys to go ahead and just use the next page break only. The continuous breaks can cause a lot of issues. And if you ever include a continuous break by accident, the way to get rid of it, because if you just delete it, sometimes it's going to glitch and it'll actually pop up somewhere else in your document and cause you problems there. The way to do this is to go into the page setup button, get it to open, and go to layout and choose section start, new page, and that'll actually convert this to a next page break. But then again, the best way to go about it is just never to put those in there. So I'm going to put a next page break in right here. And now I've got the text on my other monitor here. I'm going to get the title page. And now we've got a title page. It's waiting to be filled in, but it's there. And then I'm going to put in the next thing that we have is going to be our approval page, which is what's required on the second page. And so now you've got the two pages that we're going to need there. Now, of course, you can always just hit enter a bunch of times to get this to come up here. But generally, a better way to do this is by putting in a page break. And now I want to talk about the differences. Basically, a page break is going to make sure that you can edit up here, and this is always going to stay in the same location. This will always be at the top of the page, no matter what happens here. Now, the section break, it does that as well. You can see that you can make changes up here, and it's not going to affect where this begins. But the section break is going to allow for the sections to be different. One of the things I should do in my header and footer window here, I'm going to set this to be 0.75, and then I'm going to set this down here to be 0.75 as well. 3/4 of an inch is where our page numbers should generally be located. And when you're working with section breaks, the default from Word is to have it linked to previous. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. We always want to remove any linking to previous because we don't want, the reason we put the section break in is so that this will be different from this. As we remember, this doesn't have, there's no page number is going to be located there. But I do want to put in a page number here, and I'm going to put this in as a current position, plain number, and I'm going to set it to be in the middle. Now, we don't want our page numbering to start at 3, so I'm going to right-click on this, just select it, and right-click and format page numbers. So just to show you that again, right-click, format page numbers, and I'm going to tell it to start at 1. Now, I'm going to need one more section, so I'm going to close out of my header and footer, and I'm going to put that right here. So now I'm going to give myself a new section break, and this is going to hold my abstract. So I go and get my style, and there it is. And then again, I like to give myself some normal paragraphs just to give myself some space. I'm going to put in a page number here, or a page break right there. And this will be our table of contents. Now, I'm going to show you something later with that table of contents, but for now, I'm going to use the style to make sure that heading is right there. And so by the time your document is done, for many of you, it will only include this section break and this section break. Just those two is all your document should ever need. Everything else is page breaks. If you want to do some further formatting, for example, if you have a very large table and you want to put it on a horizontal or a landscape-oriented page, section breaks will come into play there as well. But we can talk about that in a later lesson. So now the final thing is I'm going to give myself another chapter here. I'm just going to put it right here. And I'm going to call it Literature Review. And I want my page break to go right there. And you can see it can sit there right on a paragraph. There's nothing wrong with that. And now we've got a new section here, and that's how that works. Now to add the page numbering here, I'm going to go ahead and center align it. I'm going to unlink my header or footer, this section here, I'm going to unlink. And then right down here in this page number, we're going to insert the current position, plain number. Now these are going to be the lowercase Roman numerals. And we want this one to be 3 because the title page and approval page are still counted even if they don't have page numbers on them. And that's essentially how you can build your sections and the page breaks that you need.